All right, let's look at our last item here on our list of Age of Exploration 1, information coming really from chapter 19 in the text. And let's see that Japan is going to return to a period of isolation. And where does that fit into the story of our Age of Exploration the Europeans were embarking upon? Japan during this time was really transitioning itself from a feudal society into perhaps another feudal society. When we talked about feudalism already as a system of loyalty that provides protection by local rulers and control there, this new system of feudal society was taking place as we get into the 1500s during what was known as the Warring States period. And rising up out of the ashes of that Warring States would be the Tokugawa shogunate. Shogun was the supreme military commander of all the warriors. We perhaps are familiar with the term samurai. This would be the warrior or the knight, if you will, if you want to compare this to European feudalism that we've already studied during the Middle Ages. This Tokugawa shogunate would definitely dominate the lords of their feudal system. The lords in this feudal system would be the daimyo, and they were battling for territory and power, much like we had learned Europeans were during their feudal system during the Middle Ages there. European contact is going to come to this area really by accident as shipwrecked sailors, Portuguese I believe, would be encountered and initially accepted and bring back more sailors with them, more trade, really appreciating the markets that were available from this resource-filled island here of Japan. Not only were they bringing goods to trade and benefiting there, but they were also bringing missionaries, as was we talked about the God Golden Glory effort earlier, the ability or the attempt to convert people to Christianity became later a sticking point, and Christianity would be banned as it got kind of in the middle of this power struggle of the feudal system there in Japan. Total isolation became the policy of the Tokugawa shogunate and the government of Japan by 1639. It's also important to mention that even though no Europeans were allowed to trade with Japan, there was one port, Nagasaki, that the shogunate did have control over and allowed only the Dutch and the Chinese to enter in order to trade. So there was definitely a monopoly of trade going on. Any benefit that was happening with trade was definitely going through the hands of the government. So why is all this important? The decisions and attempts by the Japanese to be isolated were about power and commitment to tradition. Trying to keep prosperity out, trying to keep progressiveness, if you will, of what the world was doing out of their society. Japanese control over its isolation definitely excluded it from the industrialization that was going on during the 17 and 1800s. And when it does, and we'll learn in here, when it does finally start catching up, they move very rapidly. And that is not also without consequences. All right, that's it. Thanks.